Broncos country, get ready, because what you're about to hear will stir up the emotions of everyone who bleeds orange and blue. After an exciting victory in Week 1 against Tennessee, our Broncos just suffered a defeat that hurt as much as that victory was sweet. And look, Denver Broncos family, the situation is more serious than many imagine. Did you see what happened against Indianapolis? Because I saw it, and let me tell you, it was heartbreaking. Our team that had shown a dominant defense the previous week simply crumbled when we needed it most. And now Sean Payton is saying things that every Broncos fan needs to hear. But before I get into the details that will make you understand why this defeat could be a turning point in our season, let me ask a question. Do you think our team is ready for what's coming? Because the schedule ahead doesn't forgive any mistakes, and after what happened last Sunday, I have my doubts. Stay tuned because I'm going to explain exactly what happened, why Sean Payton is worried, and what the Broncos' plan is to not let this season go down the drain. And I guarantee, after hearing all this, you'll understand why the next games could define whether we'll have a successful season or another season of frustration. So relax there, Denver Broncos family, because this conversation is going to be long and will touch the heart of everyone who loves this team. Let's start with the victory against Tennessee, which now seems to have been more luck than skill. Remember the euphoria after the victory against the Titans? Everyone celebrating, thinking we had finally found our identity, that the defense was back to its glory days. It was a feeling too good to be true, and unfortunately, it was exactly that, too good to be true. In that first week, our defense was simply spectacular. They completely dominated Tennessee, didn't give space for anything, were aggressive in pressure, covered passes well. In short, it was an almost perfect performance. Everyone left that game thinking, now we're going, the Broncos are back. But then last Sunday against Indianapolis came, and everything crumbled in a way I still can't believe. You want to know what makes me most upset? It wasn't just that we lost, it was how we lost. It was seeing our defense, which a week before was intercepting passes and completely dominating the game, simply unable to stop absolutely anything Indianapolis tried to do. And look, Broncos country, what happened wasn't bad luck. It was pure incompetence. Daniel Jones, who isn't exactly Tom Brady, did whatever he wanted with our secondary. They got more than 10 yards per play on first downs. 10 yards. Can you imagine how humiliating that is for a defense that prides itself on being aggressive? But the worst of all was Jonathan Taylor. This guy simply ran over us like our defensive line was made of paper. More than 200 total yards, 40-yard runs coming out of nowhere, receptions that looked like practice against cones. It was embarrassing, family, really embarrassing. And Sean Payton knows it. He's not trying to hide anything. He's not playing politics with anyone. The coach clearly said they need to look inside, recognize the mistakes, and find a way to correct all this quickly. Because the schedule ahead won't go easy on anyone. You know what the next stop is? Los Angeles Chargers, at their place. Then Cincinnati Bengals, which at least will be in Denver, but then 2 straight road trips, Philadelphia Eagles and New York Jets. Denver Broncos family, this schedule is no joke. If we don't get our house in order quickly, we can forget any playoff dreams this season. And look, it's not just the defense that has problems. The offense also had its moments of terror against Indianapolis. We managed to score 28 points, which should be enough to win any game, but the mistakes we made at the crucial moment cost us too much. Sean Payton was surgical in his analysis. He talked about the missed kick, about the drive in the red zone where we literally shot ourselves in the foot, delay of game penalty, 15-yard face mask, and to top it off, an interception. All this in a single drive that could have defined the game in our favor. Can you imagine the frustration? Being there, close to the end zone, with the chance to put points on the scoreboard and practically guarantee victory, and simply hand everything over to the opponent on a silver platter. It's the kind of thing that drives any fan crazy and makes any coach's hair stand on end. But you know what worries me more than anything? The inconsistency. Sean Payton touched on a fundamental point when he talked about not being able to sustain success being a yo-yo that goes up and down all the time. And that's exactly what the Broncos have been in recent years. One week we play like Super Bowl candidates. The next week we play like a high school team. One moment the defense is impenetrable. The next moment it's Swiss cheese full of holes. One moment the offense is creative and efficient. The next moment it's making amateur mistakes. Broncos country, this emotional roller coaster has been killing us for years, and Sean Payton knows that if this doesn't stop now, this season will go to space before it even reaches the middle. That's why he's talking about looking inside, recognizing problems, and applying corrections urgently. The coach made it clear that responsibility starts with him and the coaching staff. They need to find better ways to prepare the team to avoid those silly mistakes that cost games, to maintain the consistency that separates good teams from mediocre teams. And you know why this is so important now? Because we're in a division that doesn't forgive anything. AFC West is no place for an inconsistent team. Kansas City Chiefs continue to be Kansas City Chiefs, even when they're not playing their best football. Los Angeles Chargers are always dangerous, especially playing at home. Las Vegas Raiders can surprise anyone on any day. If the Broncos can't find this consistency quickly, we'll spend another season watching playoffs from our living room. And honestly, Denver Broncos family, after so many years without postseason, I don't know if I can handle another disappointment like that. But you know what gives me hope? The fact that Sean Payton isn't sweeping things under the rug. He's being brutally honest about the problems. He's taking responsibility. He's talking about urgency. This is the kind of attitude I want to see in a head coach. Last season, after a bad start, the team managed to turn things around and win 5 of the next 6 games. It wasn't always pretty, but they found a way to win. They controlled possessions, played disciplined football, forced turnovers at the right moments. The problem is that against Indianapolis, it was exactly the opposite of all that. Lack of discipline, silly mistakes, inability to force turnovers when we needed them most. It was as if all the progress from last season had evaporated in 60 minutes of football. And look, I understand it's only the second week of the season. There's a lot of road ahead. There's plenty of time to adjust things, to correct mistakes, to find the identity that will take us to the playoffs. But the window of opportunity doesn't stay open forever, especially in a league as balanced as the current NFL. Every game matters. Every mistake costs dearly. Every victory we let slip away could be the difference between watching playoffs at home or being there fighting for the title. And that's why Sean Payton is so urgent about solving these problems. The good news is we still have time. The bad news is that time is passing fast, and the schedule ahead will test every fiber of this team. Los Angeles Chargers won't have mercy on us. Philadelphia Eagles won't make anything easy. New York Jets, even with all their problems, are capable of giving trouble to anyone. So the question that won't go away is, will the Denver Broncos be able to look inside, find the problems, and correct them in time to save this season? Or will we have to live with another season of frustrated expectations? Sean Payton seems confident they'll find the answers. He talked about the importance of not letting this defeat shake the group's confidence about the need to move forward in the best possible way. But confidence without action doesn't take anyone anywhere. What I want to see in the next games is attitude. I want to see a defense that returns to playing with the aggressiveness and intelligence it showed against Tennessee. I want to see an offense that stops making silly mistakes in crucial moments. I want to see a team that understands the importance of every play, every down, every opportunity. Because Denver Broncos family, if there's one thing we've learned over the years, it's that in the NFL, you can't waste opportunities. And 2025 seemed to be a season full of opportunities for this team. We have talent, we have an experienced coach, we have a fan base that deserves to see quality football. But talent without execution is worth nothing. Experience without practical application serves no purpose, and passionate fans without a competitive team only generates frustration. It's time for the Broncos to prove they've learned from past mistakes and are ready to compete on equal terms with any opponent. The clock is running, Broncos country. Every week that passes is one less week to get our house in order and show what we're capable of. Sean Payton knows it. The players know it. And now it's time to transform this awareness into positive results on the field. Next week against the Chargers will be a true character test. It will show if this team learned anything from the painful defeat against Indianapolis, or if we'll continue on this emotional roller coaster that takes nobody anywhere. I particularly still believe in the potential of this roster. I believe in Sean Payton's ability to find solutions. I believe that Broncos country deserves to see their team fighting for the top spots in the division. But this belief needs to be sustained by consistent performances on the field. So that's it. Denver Broncos family. The time of truth has come. The time to stop talking and start showing has come. The time to prove we're more than a yo-yo team, that we're capable of maintaining a high level of play week after week has come. The next games will define not only the direction of this season, but also whether we can trust this group to take us back to national relevance. And I honestly hope the answer is positive. Now, before I continue with more details about what needs to be corrected urgently, let me make a request to you who are watching. If you're true Broncos country, if you believe in this team's potential as much as I believe, go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel. Because we'll need a lot of support and a lot of debate in the coming months, and I want to count on each of you on this journey. Now let's get to what really matters. What exactly are the problems that Sean Payton and his coaching staff need to solve, and how do they plan to do it before it's too late? Starting with the defense, which was the most concerning point of the defeat against Indianapolis. Did you see how Jonathan Taylor simply walked through our linebackers? How he managed to break tackles that seemed certain? How he turned plays that should have yielded 2 or 3 yards into gains of 15, 20 yards? This isn't just a problem of individual talent. This is a problem of preparation, positioning, execution of the game plan. Our defense looked lost on the field, as if they didn't know exactly what Indianapolis was trying to do. And in a league where preparation is everything, this is simply unacceptable. The defensive coordinator needs to look at this performance and understand where he went wrong. Because it wasn't just one player who failed, it was an entire system that didn't work. And systems don't fail by accident. They fail because they weren't well prepared or because they weren't well executed. And look, Denver Broncos family, the problem doesn't stop there. Our defensive line, which should be one of the team's strong points, simply couldn't generate consistent pressure on the opposing quarterback. Daniel Jones had plenty of time to find his receivers, to read the defense, to make the best decisions. In a league where quarterback pressure is fundamental to defensive success, not being able to bother a quarterback like Daniel Jones is a sign that something is very wrong. And Sean Payton knows it. That's why he's talking about urgency, about the need for immediate corrections. But the offense also has its problems to solve. Getting 28 points should be enough to win any game. But the way we got those points was far from ideal. Many plays left on the table, many wasted opportunities, many mistakes we can't afford to make. The red zone situation that Sean Payton mentioned is emblematic. Being close to the end zone and leaving empty-handed because of silly penalties is the kind of thing that separates competitive teams from mediocre teams. And we can't be a mediocre team, not with the talent we have available. And you want to know what worries me most? The lack of killer instinct in decisive moments. When it came time to define the game, to show personality, to impose our will on the opponent, we simply couldn't do it. We looked like a team afraid to win, afraid to take responsibility. This is something that goes far beyond X's and O's. It goes far beyond tactical schemes. This is a mental issue. It's a matter of psychological preparation. It's a matter of believing in your own potential. And if there's one thing Sean Payton knows how to do is work on the mental side of his players, Broncos country. I remember when Sean Payton arrived in Denver full of expectations, promising to bring a winning mentality, promising to teach our players what it means to play at the highest level. And in many moments, we saw that happening. But against Indianapolis, it was as if all that had been forgotten. It's as if the team had returned to old habits, old fears, old insecurities. And this can't happen. especially not with the schedule we have ahead, because Los Angeles Chargers won't have mercy on our inconsistency. Philadelphia Eagles won't make it easy because of our mental problems. So what's the solution? Sean Payton talked about starting with the coaches, about them looking at themselves and finding better ways to prepare the team. This is fundamental, because if leaders don't take responsibility, how can they demand responsibility from those they lead? But the solution also involves players taking their individual responsibilities. Each one needs to look in the mirror and ask themselves, did I do everything I could to help my team win? Did I prepare in the best possible way? Did I execute my function the way I should have? And look, the answer to most of these questions after the game against Indianapolis is probably no. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as it's used as fuel to improve, to grow, to evolve. The problem is, if it doesn't happen, if everyone continues thinking the problem is on the other side, that the fault is always someone else's, because then we'll continue on this emotional roller coaster that takes nobody anywhere. Sean Payton is experienced enough to know that one defeat doesn't define a season. But he's also experienced enough to know that how you react to defeat can define everything that comes after. And that's why he's demanding this internal reflection, this honest analysis of problems. The question is, are the players mature enough to do this analysis constructively? Can they separate ego from the need to improve? Because, Denver Broncos family, if the answer is no, we can prepare for another season of frustrations, but I still have hope. I still believe this group has potential to be special. I still think Sean Payton is the right coach to extract the best from each player. I still think Broncos country deserves to see their team fighting for the top spots. The question is whether this hope will be sustained by consistent performances or if it will continue to be just that, hope. Because hope without action doesn't win any games in the NFL. The next practices will be crucial. How Sean Payton will address the problems identified against Indianapolis, how players will respond to demands, how the team will prepare to face Los Angeles Chargers. All this will say a lot about this group's character, and you can be sure of one thing. I'll be watching every move, every statement, every sign that this team is really committed to solving its problems. Because Broncos country deserves transparency, deserves honesty, deserves to know if they can trust this group. Speaking of Los Angeles Chargers, you know what awaits us there, right? A team that always plays well at home, with talented players, with a coach who knows how to take advantage of the opponent's weaknesses. If we get there with the same problems we showed against Indianapolis, we can forget any chance of victory. The Chargers have an offense that knows how to take advantage of disorganized defenses. They have receivers who can create separation. They have a quarterback who knows how to read coverages. They have an offensive scheme that can exploit exactly the type of weakness we showed last Sunday. And defensively, they won't make anything easy. They have players who know how to force turnovers, who know how to capitalize on opponent mistakes. If we get there making the same silly mistakes we made against Indianapolis, they'll punish us without mercy. That's why Sean Payton is talking about urgency. That's why he's demanding immediate corrections. That's why he knows there's no time to waste with lengthy analyses or gradual improvement processes. The time is now, the need is urgent, the demand is immediate. And look, Broncos country, this isn't just external pressure. This is pressure that comes from within, from the desire to be relevant again, from the desire to be part of the conversation among the league's best teams. And pressure isn't necessarily a bad thing, as long as it's channeled correctly. The question is whether our players will know how to deal with this pressure positively, or if they'll let it further hinder their performances. Because pressure can be fuel for greatness, or it can be the weight that prevents you from flying. Sean Payton, through his experience, probably knows how to transform pressure into motivation. He's been through similar situations. He's had to deal with high expectations. He's had to find ways to extract the best from his players in moments of adversity. But each group is different. Each situation has its particularities. Each challenge requires specific solutions. And the challenge the Denver Broncos face now is unique. How to maintain confidence after a devastating defeat without losing sight of reality about the problems that need to be corrected. It's a delicate balance between keeping morale high and being brutally honest about failures. It's knowing that one defeat doesn't define who you are, but that the mistakes that caused that defeat need to be corrected urgently. And you know what gives me the most hope in this whole situation? The fact that Sean Payton isn't running away from responsibility. He's not blaming referees. He's not making excuses. He's not trying to minimize problems. He's being direct, honest, assuming there's a lot of work to be done. This posture is fundamental to creating a culture of accountability within the locker room. When the leader takes responsibility, it becomes easier for those led to do the same thing. When the coach is honest about problems, players feel more comfortable admitting their own mistakes, and this is exactly the culture the Denver Broncos need to get out of this inconsistency that has been haunting them for years. A culture where each one knows their responsibility, where each one is willing to do whatever is necessary for a collective success, where each one understands that individual success only has meaning if it contributes to team success. Denver Broncos family, I know you're anxious to see these changes happen on the field. I know you want to see immediate results, convincing victories, performances that make you proud to root for this team. But real changes take time, and what matters now is that the process has begun. Sean Payton planted the seed of change with his statements after the game against Indianapolis. Now it's time to water this seed with hard work, dedication, and total commitment to excellence. It's time to transform words into actions, analyses into concrete improvements, and you can be sure I'll be following every step of this journey. I'll be watching practices, statements, tactical changes, individual evolutions, because Broncos country deserves to know if they can trust this group to represent our colors with pride and competence. What I expect to see next week is a response, a character response, a personality response, a response that shows this team learned from its mistakes and is willing to do whatever it takes to get back on the path to victory. It doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be spectacular. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be disciplined. It needs to be intelligent. It needs to show that adjustments were made, that problems were identified and addressed, that the team evolved since that disappointing performance against Indianapolis. And if that happens, if we can see this evolution against Los Angeles Chargers, then we can start dreaming about bigger things. Then we can start believing that 2025 can be the year Broncos country has been waiting for. But until then, it's hard work, it's total dedication, it's commitment to excellence in every practice, in every play, in every opportunity. It's understanding that in the NFL you can't waste anything because competition is fierce and opportunities are rare. Sean Payton understands this perfectly. That's why he's demanding this internal reflection, this honest analysis, this urgency in solving problems. He knows that yo-yo teams don't win anything in the NFL, and he didn't to Denver to be just another mediocre coach. He came to bring a winning mentality, to teach our players what it means to play at the highest level, to put the Denver Broncos back on the NFL map. But this will only happen if everyone buys into the idea, if everyone takes their responsibility, if everyone is willing to make sacrifices for the good of the group. The question that remains is, are our players ready for this level of commitment? Can they put ego aside and focus on what really matters? Do they understand that time is passing and opportunities like this don't appear every day? I hope so. Denver Broncos family, I hope the defeat against Indianapolis served as a wake-up call, as a reminder that in the NFL you can't afford to play below your potential. I hope Sean Payton can transform this frustration into fuel for concrete improvements. And you? What do you think about all this? Do you still believe in this group's potential? Do you think Sean Payton will be able to solve these problems in time to save the season? Are you optimistic or worried about what's coming? Leave your opinions in the comments because I want to know what Broncos country is thinking. I want to understand if you're seeing the same things I'm seeing, if you have the same concerns I have, if you share the same hope I have, because in the end, we're all part of the same family. We all want the same thing, to see the Denver Broncos back on top, fighting for the top spots, making Broncos country proud of their colors. And for this to happen, we need to be united. We need to support our team in difficult moments. We need to believe in the process, even when results don't come immediately. So, Denver Broncos family, what would you do if you were Sean Payton? What changes would you implement? Which players would you demand more from? Which aspects of the game would you focus on in the next practices? Comment below everything you're thinking. Leave a like if you agree it's time for the Broncos to stop being a yo-yo team. Share with other fans who need to see this analysis. And stay tuned to the channel because I'll continue following every move of this team toward the next challenges of the season. Broncos country, until the next video, and may the next game show that this group has what it takes to make us dream again. Go Broncos!